we work with animals. We're not great with the whole computer thing. All right. Cool. All right. So I think now we actually are live. Awesome.
Yeah.
We work with animals. Oh, hello. I can hear myself. So we're going to erase that. All right. So now that we are actually live on YouTube, awesome. We are going to start by sharing a little video so you can see our facility. And then we'll take back over and we'll talk a little bit about our programs. Share screen. And here we go. So many demons. It's so cute. I don't know if people can hear us while we screen share. Such a good story. She's such a good girl. All right. Well, that was just a little introduction to our property. We're lucky enough to live on 60 beautiful acres here in Crohanson, New York. We are on a farm that was an equestrian facility. We use it as an equestrian facility and also as an animal sanctuary. We have horses, pigs. You can see we have all different sorts of species that we work with. Right now, our dogs are all in foster homes. So our small animals, if we ever get guinea pigs or rats, we have a rat currently in foster. But our cat room right now has adoptable cats in it. And then we have our pigs, goats, and horses on the property. So to give you a little bit of information about the work that we do, I'm just going to pull up, we have a PowerPoint here, and I'm going to play PowerPoint. There we go. All All right, so this is the barn you guys just got to see. We've recently done some renovations to the outside. We have fixed some of the doors. We've added in some blue colors, but we love this barn. It's home to a lot of our animals, and we all spend all of our waking hours here, so it's home to us as well. And so to give you a little information about why we founded, we like to say that we root for the underdogs. And the reason for that being that myself and our other two founders, Adam and Courtney, we worked for another animal rescue. That's a great animal rescue. They focus on dogs. They do really great work. As far as I'm concerned, it's the best place that a dog can live in a kennel run. But living in a kennel run isn't enough for dogs with behavioral issues a lot of the time. They need more focus and more attention than your average kennel model can provide. And so on this slide are just a few of the dogs, and on the next slide as well, that I personally fell in love with while working for the other rescue. And, you know, unfortunately, these three on this page, you know, they passed away because they just were not safe to adopt out after living in your average shelter model, and not even your average shelter model, an exceptional shelter that was going above and beyond for their behavioral needs. And so these guys are really my three that inspired me to want to create an alternative option for dogs with behavioral special needs. And so when we started, that was our number one goal. We wanted to address local animals. We wanted to address animals with behavioral concerns, animals that, you know, might be bully breed mixes that other rescue groups don't feel comfortable taking in. And so the very first dog that we rescued was Gaia. And this was my first introduction to Gaia. And I love that I screenshotted it because it really was the start of Wayward Ranch. I went on Craigslist. I had heard that a lot of animals were sold on Craigslist and in bad situations. And I was curious if that's really what it was the case. While I was still with the previous rescue I worked for, I began this kind of Craigslist puppy undertaking and had saved, I believe we did about 15 puppies in 2 weeks that were in very bad neighborhoods at high risk. And so when we broke out and began to do Wayward Ranch on our own, it only made sense to start with what we knew how to do. And so I found Gaia. She, as you can see in the picture that he had posted, was living in a dirty crate with torn up newspaper that wasn't being cleaned. The other picture that was in the post, you can see at the bottom, there's a second one, was her chained to the toilet. And so I saw these pictures and I felt very compelled to help her. And so we went and we picked her up. This was the night we got her. I went with Adam. We met the person who had her. And we took her in, and as you can see in her face, she's petrified. And so her name now, she's been adopted. Her name now is Jenny. And Jenny, it's funny that she was the first one that we rescued because she really exemplifies what we want to do. She's a very difficult dog. Even though we got her at just 3 months old, she grew up to be a difficult dog because of everything she had experienced up until 3 months old and the genetics that played a role in her having the potential to be a more fearful dog. Luckily, she found an amazing owner. If you want to follow her on Instagram, this is her owner's Instagram page for her dogs. She has Jenny and 2 other dogs. It's called the Airstream dogs. And Jenny has not been easy for her owner to own, but she has committed to her. She's trained her. She sent her out for further training, and she has really dedicated to this dog. And Jenny is a dog that really resonated with all of us from the moment we met her. And so she is the founding animal of our first program, which was our early intervention bully breed program. And this is still my favorite program that we have. This is a program where we seek out puppies, the puppies on this page. The majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them were puppies that were posted on Craigslist. Over here to your top left, the puppy with the cute little ears, the brown puppy with his paw up, that was Cinco. He was one of the first puppies we rescued. He was posted on Craigslist with a deformed leg and just did not have a lot of chance of making it out of that situation safe. A lot of people go on Craigslist looking for cheap or free dogs that they can take and use as breeding dogs, backyard breeding, so that they can make money off of them. They want to use them for dog fighting potentially, especially the bully breeds. And a lot of times also you're dealing with behavioral concerns because they're breeding for looks rather than for temperament. And so at the other side, the top right, we have Tinkerbell, who was a puppy we got at 4 weeks old. Never should have been away from mom that young, but we got her at 4 weeks old. And she, even at 4 weeks old, was a bit of a behavioral nightmare. And we spent 4 weeks trying our best to set her up for success. And that's why the title of the program is Early Intervention. We want to help these dogs who are so young, already being sold, way too young to be separated from their mom. And we want to raise them as best we can, understanding what their genetics are, understanding the kind of family they need to have to be best set up for success. And Tinkerbell, I'm very proud to say, is one of our best success stories. Her family is unbelievable. They did everything we asked them to do and more for her, and she's really grown up to be the best version of her she could possibly be. So that's just a little introduction to our early intervention program. We also, based on our Craigslist rescues, founded our Free to Good Home program. So there's a lot of farm animals, small animals, and birds, exotics, that kind of thing, that are posted on Craigslist Free to Good Home. And what I always tell the families that I reach out to is, I know you did this with the best possible intentions, that you truly felt if you didn't put a price tag on your animal, they'd find an easy forever home where they'd be loved. Sadly, that's not the case for most of the animals. Farm animals, pigs, goats, they'll end up, slaughtered most of the time. A lot of comments on posts that we've seen have been, oh, look, free bacon. But of course, the pigs that are pictured here are potbelly pigs, which, as far as I'm concerned, are not food. They are pets, and, goats, as far as I personally am concerned, are not also food. The small animals too face a lot of problems because they can easily feed a large snake. And so a lot of times snake owners will seek out Free to Good Home small animals online. And so these are just a few of the animals that we've rescued from those kind of situations. I believe all of these animals, the families were excited for them to go to sanctuary or go to rescue rather than be given away to a home where they didn't realize the risks associated. And so it's a lot of education as well with this program to reach people whose first reaction may not be to seek out a rescue. If you have a bird to rehome, you may not think that there are bird rescues local to you. And so it's just getting into our local community and letting them know we're here to help. Another dog that I wanted to discuss when we were trying to plan out what we were going to talk about is Katie. Katie founded another one of our programs. She was a, senior 12 to 14-year-old, who knows, pit mix that we were contacted to help by Yonkers Animal Shelter. She had been thrown out of a van, moving van, and picked up on the side of the road. She had been clearly bred over and over again. Her skin was in terrible shape. She was in terrible shape, and she did not accept strangers well. And so we took her in. We loved Katie so much. We had her with us for about, I believe, a month. And then we found out that she had an inoperable tumor on her spleen that was very large, cancerous, and that she was going to pass away from that. And it could be either that we give her a peaceful end to her life and euthanize her on her terms, give her the best day possible, or if we let it continue to grow, chances were good that it would rupture and she would die a very painful and unfortunate death. We opted for the former. And so we had her in our home, and she was one of the first hospice dogs we took on as Wayward Ranch. We gave her not just, the first 3 to 4 weeks we had her, but that last week, we gave her the best week we possibly could. She was never alone. Adam and I, Adam's in the picture, one of our founders, we took turns. She hated me. This dog hated me with a passion. She loved Adam. And so if Adam had to get up and go to the bathroom for, just a little quick break, because he spent most of the day with her, She would just glare at me. Why did you take my man from me? But we spent every moment of the day with her. He cooked her her own pizza. We ordered her, I believe, a Cinnabon was the last thing we gave her to eat as the vet was on the way. And we euthanized her at our own home. So she didn't have to go into a vet hospital again. And she didn't have to go through any stress. And, it was as beautiful an ending as we could have possibly given to her. And it very much resonated with myself and with Adam. And it is one of the reasons we founded our Underdog program. And so this program is for major medical behavioral special needs animals as well as hospice. And so we absolutely love, like I said in the beginning, the underdogs. And whether that's dogs with behavioral issues that need to get out of a kennel environment, or horses that have laminitis, or dogs that are partially paralyzed, rabbits that are too aggressive to be touched, animals that are blind, animals that are deaf, animals that have heart disease, animals that are with us for 10 hours. One of the Pekingese on this page, Ozzy, was with us for 10 hours because his owners told us he was healthy. And it took us all of 2 hours to realize that that was not the case. And another agonizing 8 hours for us to decide that he was suffering too greatly. But man, did we love that dog. And you can fit as much love as possible, whether they're with you 10 hours or 10 years. And so this is one of our favorite programs. We like helping the dogs and the horses and the goats and the sheep and the pigs and anything you want to call it, that other rescues may not feel that they can help, even if it's just for a short period of time. Another program that was founded, so we founded as a rescue in 2016. So this was our third program we founded, and we did so in 2017. I believe it was May 2017. I saw this post. This was the photo posted to Facebook, and it said pigs for sale, $20. And so many people were commenting, your pigs look sick. How can you be selling your pigs? That the post actually was taken down. But luckily I had screenshotted it, and I reached out to the guy through Facebook Messenger, and I explained who we were and that we wanted to help. And we drove 3 hours that day and picked up these pigs. The situation was not his fault. He moved into a property where these pigs had been abandoned. He didn't know how to take care of pigs. He didn't know what they needed. He didn't realize they were sick. But these guys were all very malnourished, very underweight, and had severe mange to the point where every time they moved, their skin would open up a crack and start to bleed. And so we did not know what we were doing with pigs. I'm a very honest person. We had no business rescuing pigs at the time that we did. We should have done far more research. But these 3 pigs, so the black pig that walked away found another home before we got to them. But the 3 black and white pigs are all still with us today. In the back is Bonsai, to the left is Ed, and the front is Shinzi. And these boys taught us everything we know about caring for pigs. And they are the founders of our Friends Not Food program. So this is what they look like after we got their skin under control, but still they had a lot of time that they needed to build up weight. But this is Shinzi today. And if anything, he's a little overweight. We love our pigs a whole lot. And what we decided to do with these 3 boys is keep them as our permanent resident pigs. They help us to socialize all incoming pigs because they know us, they trust us, they know the routine, and they can kind of show a new pig the ropes. And they have helped us to socialize and adopt out, I believe, over 40 pigs now, which I'm very proud of. We all are very proud of. But this also grew to be goats and sheep. And it's just a lot of times these animals, like I said in the beginning, are posted online. And people want to scoop them up as easy meat sources. And while we did not begin as a vegan sanctuary, we began as a dog sanctuary. I believe that the animals that come into our path come into it for a reason. And while we may not be able to save every farm animal from slaughter, the ones that come into our path, we will make sure that they never end up on someone's plate ever. And our pigs taught me to become a vegetarian. They've inspired a lot of other people to become, maybe not vegetarians or vegans, but to take the first step and stop eating pork and stop eating bacon, which I think they've done that for all of our staff members at this point. It's very important, I think, that people can look an animal in the eyes and see them not as something to produce and not as something to, they're not a crop. It's a living creature that's looking back at you with a brain. And I learned that through our rescue. And I hope that our pigs can help, and our other farm animals help teach other people the same thing as we continue.
He's such a baby.
He's such a baby here. This is Huey. Huey is, again, one of our founding animals of a program. Huey helped us to found our Second Life equine program. So after we had begun kind of rescuing the farm animals, we realized that this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to do dogs, cats, small animals, farm animals, and equines. And so we began doing research on auction houses and learning about the horse auction problem. There are very few horse rescues in our country. And so when someone can't afford to keep their horse anymore, they may not be able to find a rescue, and they may not even think to find a rescue to take them in. Their first reaction is usually to try to sell them because horses are very expensive animals. And so they want to try to get back some of their investment that they've made in them. But not all horses that you can't afford to keep anymore are horses people want to buy. If you have a senior horse, a special needs horse, there are a lot of horses that get overlooked, and their only option then is to go to auction. Auction used to mean more often than not that horses would be bound for slaughter. Luckily, that's changed. Slaughter is outlawed in our country. However, we still are exporting animals every year to Canada and to Mexico for slaughter, and those horses are coming out of auctions. Other options for horses at auction are to end up in a program that's, overworking them. So they might get bought by someone who overuses them, overworks them, and then disposes of them at another auction when they don't need them anymore. And so we decided to take our first steps into rescuing a horse from auction. And we saw this picture on an auction Facebook page. And he was 6 months old, and he was completely untouched, a feral baby. And we thought, well, no one else is going to be able to step up and help a feral baby. We'd like to try. So this is after he had arrived, and he's just so little, because we all know what he looks like now. I think 3 years later, he looks like such a doofus at this age, but we love him so much. Our board member, Adam, actually ended up adopting him because he fell so much in love with him. And this is him today. And so he lives on our farm property, and he helps socialize our incoming animals. He's, I think, probably the easiest of our animals to get along with a new horse.
Sure.
I mean, he's a knucklehead. He'll play.
He's a knucklehead.
But he's never been mean to a horse or anything like that. And so he's a really good one to start out the younger horses that we get in with. And that's Tonto chewing on his face.
Yes, they love each other very much.
Tonto is our mule. He's one of our permanent residents. He's here to protect our livestock, or smaller livestock, from the coyotes that are around our property. And he's also a dingus.
Yes.
But so Huey helped found our Second Life equine program. We founded this with the resolve that horses that may be considered used up by someone else, horses that might end up at auction, might be considered worthless because they finished the job that the person wanted them for. They're never useless. There's always something else that horse can be. The horse at the top left is Orion. He was a blind horse that had been a horse used on a ranch. And the owner, when he became blind, walked him into an auction house, tied him to a post, and walked out and told the auction house, "Send me the check when he sells." We outbid a kill pen buyer for him. And the kill pen buyer actually thanked us afterwards, saying he didn't have the heart to take an 11-year-old, so a young, beautiful horse, to slaughter just because he was blind. Orion has now been adopted, and he's living a wonderful life with a local family that loves him as a companion horse, and he gives them so much joy. Maggie, do you want to talk a little bit about the recent work we've started doing with standard breds off the track?
Sure. So the horse on the very bottom right corner is Serenity. So we've kind of switched our focus a little bit to standard breds because I have a personal history with standard breds and they're a very underrepresented breed. So they come off the track where they race with carts behind them, think kind of like chariots or something along those lines. And once their racing career is over, a lot of owners and trainers assume that they kind of don't have any further career because they never learned how to be ridden under saddle. However, that's really not true, and they are very smart and very easily retrained. So we've kind of started to focus on taking in those guys and retraining them and sending and finding them their forever homes. And it's really just a good way to help bring more awareness to the breed and to also bring a lot more awareness to what their potential is. Just because they were never ridden during their racing career doesn't mean that they're, difficult to train or anything like that. And they can go and do pretty much any, discipline or any type of riding that their owner really wants them to do. They're crazy smart creatures. They really are adaptable and they're figure it out real fast. So they're good ones that we're thrilled that we can bring more focus onto.
Absolutely. And I think that they also fit very well into that whole second chance at life mentality that we wanted to found this program on, that just because Serenity's career ended in the racing world at just 3 years old because she had a tendon injury. That does not mean that she doesn't have a career as someone's companion horse, as a riding horse. I don't know about jumping, but
well, she would be able to be a pretty good jumper.
Yeah.
She goes real fast.
She does go very fast.
She's just got to get her legs underneath her.
Yeah. She's still just a baby and she's got her whole life ahead of her. And we're just excited to help her get to what her next step is.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's see, what else is, another one of our favorite programs. All of our programs are our favorite programs, if you hadn't noticed.
We love them all.
We really like our jobs. So I noticed personally that a lot of upstate, but New York-based rescues had begun shipping puppies and dogs in from out of state. And a lot of that is because I kept hearing at conferences that I would attend, there's no adoptable dogs in New York. There's no adoptable dogs in New York. All the adoptable dogs are in the South. And I just could not believe that that could possibly be the case. And so we have partnered with several local rescues in part of our program called Local Animals First. We commit to not pulling animals from out of state unless they're, right over the border in Jersey or Connecticut. We've done a couple over the border, but for the most part, our priority is to help New York animals. And Winnie is a great example of that. She was found tied to a church fence, having just given birth and been taken away from her puppies. And so this was the photo that I was sent of her at the New York City Animal Care and Control Centers, where she was attempting to nurse a stuffed toy. And I knew that we had to help her. I mean, she came to us. She was a bit of a behavioral nightmare for good reason. She had just given birth. She was going through a lot of hormonal changes. She'd been taken from her puppies. There's a lot of trauma going on. But also she was just a puppy herself that had never been taught how to behave. And so she was put on the euthanasia list, the at-risk list at the ACC, because she had accidentally nipped a handler's hand. They went to open a door and she accidentally grabbed their hand out of excitement when I think she was going for the leash because she was a leash biter or for the doorknob. And so this dog had a bite history, but not a real bite history. She wasn't trying to hurt anyone. She didn't deserve to die. Not that I think that dogs with bite histories necessarily do deserve to die, but just this dog was a no-brainer. She was a mistake to have on the list. She needed help. She needed to not be in a kennel environment. And so we brought her to the farm. We trained her. We worked with her. We gave her time to decompress, which is what so many of these dogs, they just need a little time to decompress. And we found her a great home. She is not, again, she's not the easiest dog. They let us know all the time that she's a work in progress. But the key is to find out what the dog's skill set is, what their genetics line them up for, what training they can accomplish, set them up for success by educating their adopters. And that's something we take very seriously. And so she's one of many dogs or many animals actually that we've helped with our Local Animals First program. All the animals on this page we've taken out of local shelters, whether it was Yonkers Animal Shelter, New York City Animal Care and Controls, the Ulster County SPCA. We've done some work with Town and Country Canine Rescue. Sometimes we partner and we kind of send animals back and forth to each other. We believe that rescue never happens in a bubble. We are not the only rescue that can save animals here locally, but we definitely can't save them alone. No one rescue can save all the animals. So it's so important to bond with other rescue groups, compare, notes, work together, even if you don't necessarily have the same viewpoint. I mean, it's so important to overlook your differences, to agree on what you have in common, which is that you want to save animals, and figure out a way to do that together. So that's something we are very passionate about talking about. One of our other programs is our sanctuary dog program. And I wanted to kind of leave this one for the end, because I wanted to bring us full circle back to that first conversation that I had about the dogs at the last rescue that I wanted there to be a different alternative for, but even in the best possible kennel setting, it still wasn't good enough. This is Bear. Bear is the first dog that we welcomed into our sanctuary program. In a kennel environment, Bear never would have gotten out alive. He is a difficult dog, but he's not dangerous and he's not unmanageable. In my opinion, he is unadoptable because he has very different cues prior to snapping than your average dog would. So he needs to live with someone who really knows dog behavior and body language very well to understand him. But here we give him a beautiful life. He's in a foster home. It's actually in my foster home. I love him very much. And I manage him on a day-to-day basis with the help of Adam. We hike with him. He goes swimming when the weather's nice. He runs behind the ATVs. He cuddles. He's got his own bedroom in my house with a queen-size bed. He's very spoiled, very happy boy. And without us being willing to take in a dog that wasn't adoptable, knowing that going into the situation saying, our job with this dog is not to adopt him, it's to keep him sane and happy for the rest of his life. I wish I could do that for every dog that we get asked to take in, because we get asked to do one of these dogs at least weekly. And I have to say no to all of them because we can only rescue within our means so that I can maintain the quality of life that I give Bear and that I give Chewy, our other permanent resident dog. But my hope is that as we grow, we can create a network where we can help more dogs like this have beautiful lives, regardless of their behavior, as long as we find a way to manage their behavior safely, responsibly, fairly, while maintaining a great quality of life for them. So that sums up, who we are built into our programs. I'm going to turn things over to Maggie because I think that I've talked quite a bit, more than enough, I would say. And Maggie is going to talk a little bit about how people can get involved if you want to get involved with the work that we do. Take it over.
So a lot of people think that the only way to really help a rescue animal is to adopt. And of course, adoption is crazy important and it helps spread the word and it helps find these animals the homes we're looking to find them for. But there's also a ton of different ways that you can also get involved. One of the first things is volunteering. We have an awesome volunteer program full of awesome people that we love to death because they just want to come and they want to help with our animals. So volunteering is, it could be socializing, it could be helping us with projects, it could be helping us with daily chores. It's really just, helping make sure that all of the animals we have here on the property have that, quality of life that we're aiming to give them. And volunteers are what's the bread and butter? That's the
They
term.
are the bread and butter.
And, and they really help us in ensuring that we can give all the animals the quality time and the care that they deserve. Another way is just sharing our animals on social media. Every time you share one of our animals, it reaches that many more people. We have a Rancher of the Day on our Facebook almost every day.
Almost.
We try our hardest. Sometimes we try our hardest almost every day. And then we also do our featured rancher where we go a little bit more in depth and kind of focus on one animal every week. And we go more about their history and more about like the perfect home we think they deserve and that sort of thing. And then you can also sponsor an animal through our Patreon page, and that helps, the money for that helps go towards their daily care. And then you would receive monthly updates and personalized items and things like that from that specific animal.
As the person who does the updates, I'll tell you, I get very creative.
Another way is to hold a donation drive. We always are in need of cleaning supplies, animal toys, bedding, that sort of stuff. And if you wanted to hold a donation drive, and then those things can then get donated to us to help take care of the animals. We have some awesome volunteers that run some pretty much annually sort of thing.
Yep.
We get awesome, crazy amounts of things.
We're always very grateful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another way is to foster an adoptable animal. So even if you can't do the lifelong commitment of adopting an animal, fostering an animal helps bring them into a home setting and helps them get like used to living in a home. Some of the animals we get are either found as strays or ferals, and don't know what it's like to be in a home. So this is a way to let them get used to it. And it also lets us see how they're going to do in a home, so we can help finagle their permanent home to be more suitable for them. You can also host an adoption or a fundraising event.
Although with the pandemic right now, it would have to be a virtual event, but we're happy to kind of figure out a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then, like I said, adopting an animal, offering a forever home to one of our animals opens up space for us to help more of them. And these are some of our volunteers. These are some of our longest volunteers. They've been with us almost 2 years now, right?
Almost since the day we moved here. I think they came just a couple of months after we moved to this property. Abby's on the far side and Grace is in the middle of the ATV.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're a great representation of how kids can come and learn about the animals and they can participate. This was a day that the kids joined Adam and they fixed all of the fencing on the entire property. So they learn a lot about hard work. And you can have them come for a day on the farm or an hour on the farm or 10 minutes on the farm. And I think they get a lot out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then these are just some of our adopters that we absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
We like to stay very much in touch with our adopters. We annoy them a little bit, checking in. But adopting is the best possible thing you can do for a homeless animal. And so I just wanted to transition into showing you guys who we currently have available. So hold on one second. Let me figure out how to do this. Okay, I can do this. I've practiced.
You did it, yes.
Aha, Safari.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there we go.
This is our website. It's waywardranch.org. If you ever want to learn more about what we do, you can learn about our mission, our programs in more detail. We are hoping to build a kennel in the future. COVID has kind of put us on hold with that, but we do hope to do that in the future. This is where you can meet our animals. I'll get into that in a second. You can get involved. You can take a tour. You can volunteer, foster. These are all the ways you can help support us in the work that we do. You can always learn about events like the one we're doing today. You can reach out to us if you have any questions or if you need help. We're always here trying to help our community. So these are our currently available animals, are all in gray. We currently have Jasmine, Serenity, Simba, Baloo. Abu and Raja are the daughters of Moana. They were born here. We have Jafar and Aladdin. And then we have our dogs that are in foster homes. We've got Brooklyn, Bertha, Meatball, and Potato. And then if you've been following us on TikTok, you definitely know who Marvel is because she blew up on TikTok. We love Marvel. Her and her little miracles. She came to us with 9 puppies. She's actually about to be featured by the Dodo, so stay tuned for that in January. And then we have currently 4 kittens available for adoption. Angelica, just a little bit of a troublemaker. Leland and Prescott, both are special needs kittens that each have one functioning eye, but you'd never know it when you met them. They're maniacs. Then we've got Hamilton, who's a sweet guy, just needs a little bit more socialization. And then at the bottom here, you can see our permanent residents. So we talked a little bit about Ed, Shinzy, and Bonsai. They're those 3 pigs from that Facebook post. Batman, Joker, and Robin, we saved off of Craigslist. Their owner, who gave them to us, was thrilled that they were going to end up somewhere safe. And he has stayed in touch and actually has made a lot of donations to us this past year that we're very grateful for. Tonto, I mentioned during, we were talking about the Second Life Equine program. He is a permanent resident here to help us keep our smaller livestock safe. Stuttering. And then,
You want me to do most?
Yeah, Montana.
So Montana originally came to us as part of our Second Life equine program. She came to us as an off-the-track thoroughbred, where during her racing career, she had made over $350,000. So she was a very successful racehorse. And then after her racing career was over, her owner actually wanted to turn her into a broodmare. And she said, no, thank you. And
loudly.
And very angrily. And she actually went after the stallion and the vet techs that were handling the both of them. So the very next day, her owner reached out to us and was like, if you don't take this horse, she's going to auction and I don't care what happens to her. And as we said, auction can be especially dangerous for horses and especially of her size because she's a nice big girl.
Yeah.
But luckily we had room for her and we took her in with the intention of kind of figuring out what was going on with her and then finding her forever home. But when she came to us, she was kind of a maniac. She would bite, she would kick, she would rear. She was pretty hard to handle, to say the least. But since she's been with us, which has been about 1.5 years now,
I think so.
We figured out that most of her behavioral issues actually came because she was in constant pain. So she has a condition called kissing spine, which means that 3 of her vertebrae actually rub together in her back. The bones like grind on each other if she moves the wrong way. So it just sends a giant jolt of pain through her entire body. And we think that's what made her lunge out so violently the first time. And then she also had pretty severe ulcers when she first came to us. And that was just causing her to be, in pain constantly. So we got the ulcers under control and got them treated. And we're not riding her anymore. So we're not putting any pressure on her back and kind of limiting the amount of times that her back can act up. And because of these things, we've decided that she would be safer here as a sanctuary resident. So we say that it's a sanctuary dog program, but she counts as a dog.
She does benefit from the sanctuary program for sure.
She's a dog.
She is a puppy. Very large puppy.
Yes. So since we figured out all of her issues, she's a lot easier to handle, but we figured it would be safer for her and for any potential adopters to just keep her here. We'll know for sure that we'll never put her in the position where she feels like she needs to lash out to defend herself.
Yeah.
So she's here.
Yeah, she definitely sums up exactly what we meant to do when we founded the rescue. And we had the intention to do it for dogs only. But as we've grown, I mean, the fact that we can do it for horses and pigs and goats and, as many animals as we've been able to help is something that I take a lot of pride in. I think we all do. Teague is our permanent resident cat. He also came off the at-risk list at the ACC. He's our barn cat. He's actually come around a lot in the last 6 months, especially to love us for the first time, which is just weird, but also awesome. Poseidon is a medical special needs kitten. He's currently in a foster home. We're still working to figure out what we can do for him.
What's wrong with him?
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with him.
Disaster.
But he's happy. And so we're going to try to maintain that as long as we can. And then Bear, I already introduced. Chewy is our other permanent resident dog. He is not suitable for adoption, at least at this time. So he also is fostered in my home. All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up who we are, what we do. We hope you learned something. We hope you want to get involved with us. If you do, reach out. We would be excited to have you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody stay safe, stay home. Happy holidays. And thank you everyone for your support. We did a big push. I believe we did it in April when we had the first shutdown. We were scared we weren't going to make it through this year. We were deciding in October if we were going to have to shut down or not. And your support has been very overwhelming. And we appreciate it. We could not be here without you. If you'd like to continue to donate to help us, stay around for years to come and continue to do this work, you can find out information how to donate through waywardranch.org. You can also sponsor through patreon.com. And, it sounds cliche to say every little bit helps, but truly our donors who pulled us through are the donors who donated $5, $10 when they could. And we know the pandemic has hit everyone hard. But any help, we greatly appreciate. Yeah. All right, guys. Nice to meet you again. I'm Eleni. That's Maggie.